All right, guys, happy Friday. We are just about done with our week. And today we are going to go ahead and we're going to read a couple more chapters. This probably won't be as long as the stuff we've done previously this week, but it does leave us at a good stopping point for the week. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to read these in 3 sections. There's only 3 slides today, and I think we're reading about 3 chapters per slide. So for a total of 9 chapters today. Remember, these chapters are super short most of the time. So we're going to start with the chapter the next morning. Before we start with this chapter, remember where we left off. Julia and her dad, George, kind of finally figured out what all of those pictures, paintings that Ivan has been creating are. And they find out that it's a picture of Ruby in a zoo with the words home written on them. And Julia and her dad have this big conversation. Julia comes up with the idea to put the pictures on a billboard. And George is hesitant at first, but then decides that, yes, they're going to do this. So the implication is that at the end of the night before they left, they put all of those pictures up on the billboard. So we're going to read next morning, Mad Human, and then phone call. The next morning, I watch Mac's car slam to a halt in the parking lot. He leaps out. He stares at the billboard. His jaw is open. He doesn't move for a long time. Mad Human. A mad gorilla is loud, but a mad human can be loud too, especially when he is throwing chairs and turning over tables and breaking the cotton candy machine. Mac is kicking a trash can across the food court when his phone rings. He answers it, red-faced and sweating. What the? He demands. He glares at me. I don't know what he starts to say, but then he stops to listen. Who? Julia who? He asks. Oh, sure, George's kid. She's the one who called you. More talking. With the phone to his ear, Matt comes closer to my cage, eyeing me suspiciously. Yeah, he says. He paints, sure. We've been selling his art for quite a while now. There's another long pause. Yeah, absolutely, it was my idea. Mac nods. A smile starts to form at the corners of his mouth. Photos? No problem. You want to see him in action? Come on down, have a look. We're open 365 days a year. Can't miss us. We're right off I-95. Mac picks up the overturned trash can. Yeah, I think he'll be adding more pictures. It's a what do you call it? A work in progress. When the call is done, Mac shakes his head. Impossible, he says. An hour later, a man with a camera comes to take my picture. He's from the local paper, the one Julia called. How about you take one of me with the elephant, Mac suggests. He drapes his arm around Ruby's back, grinning as the camera clicks. Perfect, the man says. Perfect, Mac agrees. So here's that picture. All right, guys. What do you think Mac was thinking when he sees the billboard for the first time? What do you think he's thinking? In the chapter Mad Human, what is Mac feeling? And what are some clues that help us know that he's feeling that way? In the last chapter I read you guys, a phone call. Who is visiting the mall? And why do you think he's visiting the mall? This is an opinion question partially. And then for phone call also, do you think this is part of Ivan's plan? Why or why not? Why or why not? All right, guys, pause if you need to finish typing your answers out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read the next 3 chapters together. So A Star Again, The Ape Artist, and Interview. All right, guys, A Star Again. A photo of my billboard is in the newspaper. Mac tapes the story onto my window. Each day, more curious people arrive. They park in front of the billboard. They point and shake their heads. They take photos. They come into the mall and buy my paintings. While visitors watch, I dip my hands into fresh buckets of paint. I make pictures for the gift shop and pictures to add to the billboard. Trees with birds, a newborn elephant with glittering black eyes, a squirrel, a bluebird, a worm. I even paint Bob so he can be on the billboard too. I can tell he likes the picture, although he says I didn't quite capture his distinguished nose. Every afternoon, Mac and George add my new pictures to the billboard. People slow their cars while they work. Drivers honk and wave. My gift shop pictures now cost $65 with frame. The Ape Artist. I have new names. People call me the Ape Artist, the Primate Picasso. I have visitors from morning till night, and so does Ruby. But nothing's changed for her. Every day at 2, 4, and 7, Ruby plods through the sawdust with Snickers on her back. Every night she has bad dreams. Bob, I say after I soothe Ruby to sleep with a story, my idea isn't working. Bob opens one eye. Be patient. I'm tired of being patient, I say. Interview. This evening, a man and woman came to interview Mac and also George and Julia. The man has a large and heavy camera perched on his shoulder. He films me as I make my pictures. He films Ruby in her cage with her foot roped to the bolt in the floor. Mind if I take a look around, he asks. Mac waves a hand. Be my guest. While Mac and the woman talk, the cameraman walks through the mall. He pans his camera right and left, up and down. When his eyes fall on the claw stick, he stops. He trains his camera on the gleaming blade. Then he moves on. All right, guys. A Star Again. Do you think that Ivan's plan is going as he wanted it to? The Ape Artist. How do you think Ivan expected to help Ruby by bringing more people? This is an opinion question. These are all actually opinion questions. Why do you think the cameraman is focusing on certain things? All right, guys, once you have answered your 3 questions, remember you can pause. We're going to go ahead and we're going to read the last 3 questions. The early news, signs on sticks, and protesters. The early news. Mac turns on the TV. We're on the early news at 5 o'clock. Bob says, don't let it go to my head. There we all are. Mac, Ruby, me, George and Julia, the billboard, the mall, the ring, and the claw stick. Signs on sticks. In the morning, several people gather in the parking lot. They're carrying signs on sticks. They have signs and words and pictures on them. One has a drawing of a gorilla cradling a baby elephant. I wish I could read. Protesters. More people with signs came today. They want Ruby to be free. Some of them even want Mac to shut down the mall. Free for Ruby, Ivan and Ruby. Elephants are people too. Animals need love. We love animals. Ruby, see Ivan cradling a baby elephant and cut off. We're assuming that's going to say Ruby. In the evening, George and Mac talk about them. Mac says they're protesting the wrong guy. He says they're going to ruin everything. He says, thanks for nothing, George. Mac stomps off. George, holding his mop, watches him leave. He rubs his eyes. He looks worried. Dad, Julia says, looking up from her homework, you want to know what my favorite sign was? George asks. Which one? The one that says elephants are people too. George gives her a tired smile. He goes back to work. His mop moves across the empty food court like a giant brush, painting a picture no one will ever see. All right. What does Bob mean by don't let it get to my head? Why does Bob tell Ivan not to let being on the news get to his head? What do you think this news story will be about? Why? What do you think is happening at the mall? Why? What do you think George is feeling? Why? All right, guys, that is it for today. We're probably a little early, so you guys can go ahead. I will let you know what grammar page for the grammar practice you guys can be working up to as of today.